Muy buen día, Aaron. Gracias por estar en el canal. Bienvenido. Gracias, Sebas, por la oportunidad. Bienvenido, Mateo. Bienvenido, Andrés. Bueno, en este tema, sobre todo su trabajo que es interminable, sí te puedo decir, Aaron, yo solo quiero preguntarte acerca de, esa es una de las primeras producciones que has hecho, así que coméntame su experiencia en ella.
Of course, welcome, and there is a bit resume to review. So John is asking you about one of your first works that is easy wheels, man.
Well, hey everybody. Should I introduce myself, or is it does it matter really? Hello, everybody. I'm Aaaron Sims, the founder of Aaaron Sims Creative. We also call it ASC. I've been in the film industry since 1985, and my company has been around for 20 years, since 2005. And we've designed creatures and made makeup effects. From my past, I did makeup effects, nothing since my company's been created. We focus on more visuals and concept art, and we did visual effects for a while. Now we use Unreal Engine and other new tools like AI and stuff like that to experiment with. But so yes, Easy Wheels that's a long time ago. That was I worked with, I'm sure everybody knows who Sam Raimi is. He's quite well known. Back then, he was, we were working on Evil Dead 2 at the time with Sam Raimi, which is, now a cult classic. And Easy Wheels was a project he was developing with his producing partners and writers. For something they just needed a concept, or well, actually more storyboards and keyframes, since he would come into our office in Pasadena when we were working on Evil Dead. Then he noticed all my drawings, and he was on the walls and stuff like that. He goes, "Hey, we need an artist to help us with this project, Easy Wheels," which is like, to me, it seemed a little odd because there was no creatures in it, and that's what I do. I make monsters. So I helped, just a few key scenes and a little bit of storyboard, and that was really it on the project. We've worked on a few other projects with him since, but yeah, that's pretty much that project. It was a lot of fun. It was, new for me. I was getting in the industry, and I only had like Evil Dead we were working on, and before that was From Beyond, which is an H.P. Lovecraft, and that was my only films at the time. So it was kind of exciting to be able to work with, Sam Raimi on this.
Dice que antes de contestarlo, Easy Wheels, él lo que quiso fue introducirse. Dice que sabes muy bien que tiene la compañía desde hace más de 25 años, pero él está trabajando desde 1900. Que sabes muy bien que todo lo de él se basa en patrones de arte para la creación de criaturas, ¿cierto? Sí. Pero es algo muy loco, porque bueno, él trabajó con Sam Raimi, imagínate, en Evil Dead 2, y que él le pidió un favor de que hiciera, sí, como que los diseños de arte de esta película, pero es muy gracioso porque él dice que siempre le gustaba especializarse en criaturas, y esta es una película que no tiene criaturas, pero que él dice que sí, que lo tomó como un proyecto muy divertido, y que dice que incluso ahorita en su compañía está incluso incursionando con la IA para experimentar, pero que sí, que lleva haciendo esto más de 25 años.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Antes de seguir con las preguntas, Mateo tiene referente a esta pregunta acerca de la IA, así que bienvenido, Mateo.
Well, once again, we are so honored to have you here on the channel. And well, I want to ask you something that I asked you the other day. How do you think AI can impact the creative process behind your work as a concept artist?
Yeah, well, AI is, it's a sensitive subject right now because there's a lot of, I think any type of technology that comes along is always a threat to any creative, or anybody actually in any industry. You think of all industries where technology is advanced and there's the fear, and a lot of times it does take jobs away. But there's also opportunity for, I think, a lot of artists to look at this as a way of creating their art and their designs and ultimately effects in using these AI tools. Right now, I think it's really rudimentary and probably not anything that would be used professionally and say for visual effects yet. I could imagine here in the not far future that that's going to be something that will replace a lot of CG on a lot of projects, because not to take away jobs, but actually to streamline it and make it faster. So, and to bring down the budgets of some of these projects. So that's where I see the impact of AI actually being beneficial for, well, in a lot of ways from the studio point of view. They want to make movies without paying more. Is that good for an artist? I think there is an angle where artists can really embrace it and create something they've never been able to before because of this technology. And that's stuff we're trying to experiment with at ASC and myself as an artist. So I could see other artists using these as tools to help tell stories or effects or designs in unique ways it's never been possible.
That's good to know. Well, also now that you mentioned to us before that you work on From Beyond, I really like that movie. Now I have to watch it again.
Yeah, that was my first movie. When I first moved to California from Texas, that was I was only out that long, and I actually had a friend that was working on Elm Street 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and we're going to talk about Elm Street here in a second, but and they had just finished that up, and he said, hey, we went to high school together, and he says, you're always designing monsters. Can you come over to this studio? It's Mark Shostrom. He's got his own little studio that they're about to work on From Beyond. And so I was able to, come in, design monsters, and then they said, hey, can you sculpt the creatures too that you designed? I says, I never have, but I'd love to learn. So they taught me, and then they taught me how to make molds and cast and all that stuff. So that was kind of From Beyond was like really learning the beginning of these incredible tools that I would continue with working later on at Rick Baker's and Stan Winston's.
Johnny Andrés, nos cuenta Aaron que pues el principal beneficio de usar inteligencia artificial es que le puede ayudar a mucha gente a hacer cosas que en ese entonces, pues antes de la inteligencia artificial parecían imposibles por cuestiones de dinero, de falta de personal. Dice que la tecnología ahora mismo es muy rudimentaria y que pues es un tema muy polémico en su círculo, pero que tiene bastante potencial si se desarrolla bien. Y pues bueno, yo le hice el apunte a Aaron de que él trabajó en From Beyond. Es una película que me gusta mucho, me gustan los efectos especiales. Y pues esto la tengo que ver otra vez, y él nos comentó que esa fue la primera película en la que él trabajó cuando se mudó a California, y él estaba trabajando en Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Y luego un amigo de él lo llamó y dijo como que, oye, sí, es que a ti te gusta diseñar monstruos, entonces venga para acá y nos diseña el monstruo. Y ahí mismo le enseñaron a él cómo, bueno, él tuvo que hacer esculturas. Y ahí le enseñaron a él cómo hacer todo eso, cómo usar los moldes, los materiales, y pues a la muestra de un botón en From Beyond los efectos especiales son espectaculares. Me encanta.
Sí, confirmo. Aparte del terror, sí, vamos a referenciar sobre, algunos contemporáneos y algunos clásicos. ¿Cómo percibe Aaron el tema del concept artist? Ya en los trabajos contemporáneos, actividad paranormal, la dimensión fantasma y también Lights Out. Pero están las clásicas, obviamente, las de Freddy, pero también las de It del 90, pero la de It de Tim Curry. Así que, ¿cómo es ese concepto del terror?
Okay, I know John said a lot, but I will sum it up. And yeah, you're right, Aaron. He mentioned one of the classics, that is Nightmare on Elm Street. We call it Freddy here in Latin America. So, how do you perceive the work as a concept artist? He talked about contemporaneous movies like Paranormal Activity, the Ghost Dimension, and Lights Out, but also with the classics like Nightmare on Elm Street and It, the Tim Curry It.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel very fortunate to work on these really iconic movies, like the Elm Street movies, and it's It. I worked on also. We helped design our company on the new It that came out like a few years ago. So worked on the one in the 90s that was for TV, and that was I was working for this guy named Bart Mixon, and he was leading it, and we were doing basically Pennywise, kind of his look, and then some of the other stuff that's in the kind of demonic stuff that's in that show, which was a lot of fun, and to go up to Vancouver and work up there. And it was amazing because way back then, everything we had to think about design in a practical way. Everything had to be something you could put on an actor or a puppeteer or stop motion even back then. But the newer movies, like say Paranormal Activity or Lights Out and stuff like that, is, you have a lot more flexibility and freedom when you're designing, because a lot of it is stuff that's going to be, some of it's practical, but a lot of times it's digital. And on Paranormal Activity, which is kind of interesting because most of those movies were all about like what you didn't see, which was always scary. The one that they hired us for and we worked on was the one where they really wanted to show the demon in that. And so the ghost dimension, that one. We designed a few different things, but a lot of it was just like this kind of rooty, dark silhouette creature that had a human form. And they used elements of that for sure, but they also had a lot of, when you see the show, they actually had other kind of things like a human kind of character that just kind of comes in, you see his legs and stuff like that. And so there's a variety of different things, but it is interesting because it's one of those, does it work? Does it scare you because you saw it, or is it less is more? And a lot of times for these horror films, it's what you don't see is what's scarier in a weird way. So as a designer, it's always difficult to design something that ultimately, may or may not be seen. And then Lights Out, we actually helped with, the visual effects as well. But that was the other thing too. It was all about like, you only saw the creature, her, and when the lights are out. So it's like so we're designing something that you'll never see because it's always a silhouette, which is always difficult. But we made a scary silhouette, we felt, and a lot of it had to do with the glowing eyes too that you'd see with her. So that always made it kind of creepy when you'd see that. So there's definitely different challenges in the films from the 80s and then the films from now, but they all have to do the same thing, which is it's a horror film that has to scare you. So it's always a challenge, no matter what you're using at what time period in the industry.
Bueno, John dice Aaron que se siente muy afortunado de haber trabajado en estos clásicos. De hecho, incluso muchísimo más de haber trabajado con Tim Curry. Dice que obviamente lo que resaltan estas producciones es el trabajo análogo, por así decirlo, tú sabes, el uso de las props, que es lo que no se ve en las otras producciones que menciona, que dice que igual le parece muy interesante que sobre Actividad Paranormal la 4, porque tú sabes muy bien que en esta es donde al fin se ve la entidad, ¿no? Y dice que en las anteriores obviamente lo que se veía y lo mismo en Lights Out, donde se maneja ese terror de lo que no se ve es lo que más asusta. De hecho, en Lights Out, él manejó muchísimo el tema de las siluetas de los ojos, de los ojos brillantes de esta entidad, por así decirlo. Y dice que, digamos, de cierta forma fue un poco más fácil, porque pues no se basó en la creación de props como tal, pero dice que no, que fue muchísimo trabajar en ambas producciones, en estas 4 producciones.
Excelente. Además, hay algo importante, aparte del terror, sigue sobre trabajos que han hecho sobre, bueno, yo quiero preguntarte sobre la evolución que has tenido sobre temas de drama y supervivencia. Bueno, el drama como en el tema de la religión, porque 3 películas que voy a nombrar, y es la de Noé, The Grey, de Liam Neeson, y bueno, Guerra Mundial Z. Así que, ¿cómo define ese concepto de evolución del tema de lo religioso con la supervivencia?
I'm happy that John mentioned these 3 movies. In fact, two of the 3 mentioned, I think there are hidden gems that are Noah from the great Darren Aronofsky. The great yes, I think that the critics is bashing and that movie doesn't deserve that cake. For me, it's a masterpiece. The Great from one of the greatest movies from Liam Neeson for me, and of course World War Z. But John is asking about how do you deal with the topics of, not only the survival stuff, like we see on the Grey, but the religious stuff. So tell us more about these three, I consider cult classics now.
Well, yeah, I think that, there's a lot of films that we've worked on that have like religious undertones. And I think that that's always challenging in some ways because, you have to be sensitive that, as far as like where we're concerned. So we're not insulting somebody that may be, seeing it and going, well, that doesn't represent what, this. But the main thing that we focus on in all of these, and this is with all films, but a lot of these that have these survival elements or religious undertones, or a lot of the director has a lot of the influence of what they want to say in that film. So we just have to help as a designer to convey their vision of what they're trying to say. It may be like a zombie from different things, or if it's the wolf, or if it's there's so many elements that we have to consider. And Noah, the director, really wanted to try something different with those the walk. I think they're called the walkers. There were the walkers. Yeah, it's been a while, so I'm sorry, I'm a little rusty here. But I think that he wanted to convey that they're kind of restricted in a lot of ways in their movement. So he wanted to go with almost like a stop motion feel with the way that they actually move. But they're also kind of like, with those particular things, they were like angels that had been turned into stone. So the weight of that, and they couldn't move. So we had to come up with a unique design for how that would look and give that the weight of being turned to stone and have to walk around. So that was definitely challenging, but yeah, no, all of these films that we work on, it's always like, what do you want to see? What do you want us to help with and can convey in our concepts? And that's the biggest part up front that you take on a job, is you make it very clear with what you're going to actually help with in that process. And so those are all they have. Every movie has its own challenges, but those are definitely interesting films to work on.
This is a question as a fan, because I need to know it. Because I was watching your resume, your big resume, and you had worked also with Darren Aronofsky on Black Swan. So
yes.
For me, it's one of the directors. I think I have watched every movie, everyone. Maybe only the short films are the one that I haven't watched. So how does it feel working with a genius? I need to know.
Oh, Darren's amazing. He's incredible. And he really thinks about like the process. Like we were actually working on Noah, a lot of that. We did work on Black Swan, and Black Swan was interesting because we were working with a visual effects house at the time that was creating the effects, so we were helping them. But on Noah, we worked, one-on-one with Darren, and it was, he really was. He was thinking about the elements too, like even the rocks that we were making it of. He would collect these out. He'd find the rock that he wanted, and he would show us, like, this is the type of rock I want the walkers to be made of. And it's like, and he'd explain why. So that's what's amazing about working with a director that's not just thinking about it like, as a throwaway thing. It's thinking of every element of it, and what makes that element important for that filmmaker. So he's genius. Yeah.
Voy del final al principio. Lo que pasa es que le pregunté cómo fue trabajar con el que había trabajado en Black Swan, y obviamente él no va a poner en Aronofsky, uno de mis directores favoritos. Creo que hizo todo de él, excepto los cortos. Dice que en Noah él estuvo tan pendiente, o sea, trabajó tanto de mano a mano con Aaron para la creación, por ejemplo, Los Caminantes, que son, tú sabes, Los Ángeles, que eso generó muchísima controversia, ¿no? Contrarió lo que era la imagen de Los Ángeles vistos en el cine, siempre han visto como seres, tú sabes, luminosos. Y esta fue de las primeras películas de mostrar a Los Ángeles, ¿no? Como seres, digamos, llenos de defectos monstruosos. Dice que estuvieron trabajando de tú a tú para los diseños. De hecho, él dijo que quería que lo hicieran con ese estilo de roca como tal, que tenían que tener dificultades para caminar. Dice que le fascina trabajar con directores que sean así detallistas. Igual, dato, ¿no? Que te va a interesar, porque se llama World War C y The Grey. Lo que pasa es que también en los diseños de los lobos, y obviamente en el diseño de los zombies, todo fue idea de los directores. O sea, aquí creo que Foster es el director de World War C, él dice que él trabaja y él habla de tú a tú con los directores, o sea que se puede decir que es una colaboración y esas películas funcionaron porque los diseños fueron una colaboración entre directores, que aquí yo los menciono más como autores, y Aaron. Entonces, gracias porque créeme que no va a ser una de mis películas favoritas.
No, increíble, ya cumplió. Todos estamos cumpliendo sueños ahí. Sigue también el tema antes de dar una pregunta en video y es este tema de la experiencia que ha tenido en dos producciones, la de Wonder Woman 1984 y la de Ready Player One, que la verdad ha tenido estos dos premios en el cual lo felicitamos.
Y sería bueno también hablar de que él ha ganado premios con sus cortos, el del ojo. Okay. I love that John is asking about this because I know that awards we don't need awards to tell that the career is good, but you won awards with Wonder Woman 1984 and also with another masterpiece, Ready Player One. That I know I cannot believe how did you do that because I mean it's the craziest thing ever. So tell us about the work in these two movies, and also you had won awards being you the director of short films. So tell me more about this part of the awards in these three productions, and of course your work as a director with the eye.
Yeah. Well, Wonder Woman. Honestly, working on Wonder Woman was a lot of fun. But working with Patty Jenkins, she was amazing. Just and it was also it was fun to work on something that you never had, like it was a character that's never had a real movie before. So to be able to work on a film with her on making a film that had never been made before, but which was such an iconic character, and help bring that to life was a lot of fun. We actually helped with that in different ways. There was a whole scene at the end where she's fighting the villain, and then there was also various like her world that she lived in, as well as there was history that her mother told her about the Amazons, and it was a book that opens up and it comes to life, and we helped design a lot of that element. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and the shorts that we've been creating, our own stuff, like stuff I've been doing for a while, where I've created like I love sci-fi, I love horror, so I tried to like do a little bit of both. And there was a film a while back a short that I did called Archetype, and it was about a robot that became self-aware. And that was fun because I was trying to experiment with different things too, and like tell a story about humanity in a unique way. 20th Century Fox at the time saw the short online and optioned it with me to direct, and we were about to make it. We were, but it was during a unique time in the industry where things weren't getting greenlit. So we had a few hiccups that just kind of like, and it happens all the time in production where they start something and then it doesn't happen. This was a part of it was like, it all has to deal with money a lot of times, with what is actually successful, what's not. So in Hollywood, a lot of films will get made or not made based on the success of other ones right before it. So there was a few robot movies that came out at that time too that didn't do well financially, and so they decided to just hold on making the feature, which was a little disappointing, but that's part of the process. And then the other ones that we've done, and I got some of my little maquettes up here. Like there was one called the I Kalanthak. So this is Archetype. This is the one I was just talking about. That's, the robot that becomes self-aware. This one up here is like the I Kalanthak. It was a short we did all in a game engine called Unreal Engine. And the short was called the I Kalanthak. And it's basically a Twilight Zone type of story where a character goes through a time loop and constantly dies and comes back and dies and comes back. But she doesn't realize it until the end when it's too late. So it was a lot of fun, but that project I worked with Epic Games with. They financed it and they helped push that forward. So and right now we're actually experimenting with AI to help tell stories. It's very difficult because the technology is it's not there yet to really be very precise at what you want to get out of it. You have to experiment. So those are the kind of the things, but a lot of it is just to help us to be able to tell stories in unique ways, and short formats are really a great way to tell us a story real quick.
Because we need to talk. I saw a series of documentaries in HBO. Well, okay, Max. I don't know if you saw it. Patty Jenkins was talking about her favorite scene, and he mentioned the scene of the appearance of Wonder Woman, you know, in the World War II, in the World Man. Mm-hmm. And man, I know you contribute. All of the people contribute, but I love because she talked with Ava DuVernay and showed all the designs. And I know you contributed a lot, so I don't know if you know, but it's the favorite scene from Patty Jenkins. So kudos. And two, I know that Mateo glazed their eyes when you mentioned Epic Games. If you want to mention more about it, we go ahead because we love video games. And three, I think that in the final feature, we will show one of the maquettes if you allow us. And yes, we love short format. John and myself, we were on movie festivals, and short format are the kings for us. Well, I will translate. Oh, you wanna? No, did you know that is the favorite scene of Patty Jenkins? That the scene of the World Man? Did you know it?
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's cool.
Yeah, man.
I feel fortunate that we've been able to work on some fun projects, and we're just lucky in a lot of ways, to be able to have the connections and the experience and be able to work with incredible filmmakers. And it inspires us all the time when we're working on it to create our own stuff, and that's why we like to do the short formats. We're also doing we're trying to internally do work on animated series too, our own stuff that we're creating. That's going to be a longer series. And so there's a lot of things that we're focusing on that we hope that will, see the light of day one day. But right now it's all kind of internal. We're just developing it as we go.
And please add video games in that list. We need animated series, video games more with your art. And I will translate right now. Pues John, increíble respuesta. Tuve que alargarme porque te cuento un dato. Hay un documental en Max que es sobre las escenas favoritas de los directores. Patty Jenkins dijo que su escena favorita es la de Wonder Woman, la primera, cuando ella aparece en el mundo de los hombres. Él lo dice porque dice que en la 1984 tú sabes muy bien que en ese incluso hubo una licencia donde se crearon un personaje que nunca se había mostrado antes en el cine. Entonces dice que le gustó trabajar, además de que Wonder Woman 84 que generó un poco de controversia porque mostró ciertas cosas, se tomaron ciertas libertades, pero él dice que le gustó, ¿no? Y acá hay un dato buenísimo que yo sé que a Mateo le fascinó y a ti te va a fascinar, que y algo triste, ¿no? Que te la decir, ¿no? Tú sabes que le hizo un corto llamado Arquetipo, ¿no? Archetype. Pues John, le iban a dar dinero en esa época para hacer un verlo largo, pero de cierta forma las películas sobre robots como que iban bajando en taquilla y por eso no lo pudo hacer largometraje, pero él con Epic Games colaboró para hacer el cortometraje del ojo, del lente contact. Dice, y acá hay un dato buenísimo, que increíblemente la inteligencia artificial no ha evolucionado al punto de lo que los artistas necesitan para lograr precisión. Acá hay un dato buenísimo. Yo le dije que si él sabía que la escena favorita de Patty Jenkins era la de la Segunda Guerra Mundial, dice que sí sabía. Él dice que para él es un honor trabajar con esos grandes directores que lo inspiran para hacer historias en formato corto. Que por eso es que yo le dije que formato corto era lo mejor de los festivales de cine y que se viene, adivina que John, si quieres aprovecha. Quiere hacer una serie animada por lo que ha hecho, eso es lo que se viene. Yo le dije que ojalá no solo una serie animada. Y antes de acá la pregunta, and before I let my friend do the question, not only we need the series, we need also the movie for Archetype. Someday that you mentioned. Now I'll let you with John. Mateo, lo que quiera.
Es increíble. Bueno, Mateo tiene última pregunta para mostrarla el video de algún colega.
No, I think I'm done. Well, yeah, it was pretty insightful. All the things you told us, it's very nice to have someone with such a career here in our channel.
No, well, it's my pleasure. Yeah, it's great to talk to you guys. And was there anything else that you were going to ask, or is that?
Yes, John will show you a question that is done on video for a fine. So we will show the video. John, muestra.
Ok, voy a mostrar el video de un colega, compañero de nosotros, Jan, que es...
Hi, Aaron. This is John Cardenas from Colombia. I first of all want to say thank you for answering these questions. I am looking at your work, and I have to say it's very admirable what you do as a concept artist. You have worked on so many incredible films, and it's such a vast and very diverse catalog, which makes it difficult to ask just one question. So I have two instead. First of all, I wanted to ask you about your experience working on what's possibly one of the best films of this decade, which is Robert Eggers' The Northman. It's a movie that I feel has a lot of authenticity, but at the same time, it makes it believable with its fantasy settings. It's clearly one of the better films in the sword and sorcery genre after Conan the Barbarian, the original one, of course. And I wanted to ask you about your experience with that, because that's one of those films that was made during the pandemic, and it was one of those attempts to bring the people back into theaters. Unfortunately, it was not a commercial hit, but eventually it found its well-deserved audience. So that's one question. And the other one, seeing that you have worked on such films like Ready Player One, Coming to America, or Aquaman, I wanted to ask you about one of your earlier works, which is 2008's cult classic 30 Days of Night, which, checking on your IMDb, you appear uncredited, and I've been fortunate to read the comic and also seen the movie countless times. And the way that the vampire's design was so well translated from the page to screen must have been very difficult, because the art style from the original comic is very abstract. So what was the challenge of bringing that art style from the comic into live action? And if you want to share an anecdote of either one of those projects, that would be amazing. So greetings from Colombia, and thank you once again.
Well, that's great. Those are great questions. Yeah, I think that, I'll start off with The Northman. So The Northman, it is a great film. I love that movie. And, we were fortunate enough to be able to work on an aspect of it. Unfortunately, just one aspect, but there's not, being creature designers, we rarely do films like that doesn't have that many creatures in it or characters, but that are unique or fantasy based. But I think that we were fortunate enough to be able to work on it's a scene where basically the Northman has to fight the undead king to get his sword, and it's that whole scene. So we had to kind of work on what does that look like, and it has to feel different than any aspect of the film, because a lot of the other aspects, it's kind of like how he got his sword, and how he moves forward and defeats the enemy, and that had to feel like it was something unique and different, and also he had to go through something as an individual. So we were just hired to kind of like help with that, convey that feeling of kind of this dead world, this and this undead character that he had to fight to get the sword. So I feel very fortunate we were able to work on that. The other one, like Ready Player One, that I loved working on that film. That was probably one of my favorites that we worked on, because not only working with Spielberg, which is amazing, and I've had been able to work with him on many projects in the past, but that one, we worked on for a few years, and it was designing character in that movie. It was even the hero ones. There was a lot of involvement with us and other artists and other, and the production designer. But every character you see in the background that's just kind of roaming around and stuff like that, we helped design and create. And it was kind of cool because he wanted to create, like, bring back a lot of stuff. So there was a Freddy Krueger in there. There's all kinds of stuff that's in that. So it was kind of fun to be able to help bring some of those to life. Of course, there was a lot of other people working on that as well, because there was, hundreds and hundreds of characters that you see, even ones that just show up for a second. But that was a lot of fun. The other, let's see. So, what was it? I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember
It was 30 Days of Night.
Oh, yes. 30 Days a Night.
Yeah.
So 30 Days a Night. That was a lot of fun. And I worked with David Slade, the director, on a few projects. He's amazing. And he's always got a really strong vision for what he wants. And he really wanted to make sure that the comic book came through on the look of the vampires. So, and it was a lot of fun to try to look at the comic book that was very graphic and bring that to life, and know that a lot of it's going to be makeup, but a little bit of digital, just slight digital. And we had the flexibility, we were told at that time, that we can pull their eyes a little bit further apart in the design because they'll do it digitally, but most of it's going to be practical. So it was a lot of fun. And it's always a challenge when you take a comic book character and bring it to life. Like the Incredible Hulk, we worked on that too. And that was like the one with Ed Norton. And it's always like, there's so many comic books, of the Hulk. So it's like, not that that was one of the questions. I'm just talking in general of like, how do you bring iconic characters from comic books and reimagine them? Because what comes with that, there's like a lot of baggage for a designer, mainly for the filmmaker, to be quite honest, because there's fans that want something, and sometimes they'll get it, sometimes they won't. So they'll be angry if they don't get what they want with the design, and it's almost impossible to get to nail a comic book in the real world. So it definitely becomes challenging, but it's always fun too.
Before I translate, I need to thank, because that scene with the Elder King in the Norman is a dream for all the people that love video games. I mean, it feels like a video game. Of course, that scene of the battle or Ray Player One is a dream, and I'm happy that you mentioned that it's one of your favorite movies. And yeah, man, you designed the scariest vampires ever. I mean, the vampire little children from 30 Days of Night still get the chills out of me. And David Slade is a genius. I even got a tattoo from all of his works because he's a really, really cool guy. And I will translate. Thank you. Pues John preguntó sobre tres joyas, le hay que agradecerle a Jan. Habló sobre Norman. Dice que él en realidad, o sea, de todos los diseños, sabes que es una película donde no hay muchas criaturas, pero está el rey anciano. Él hizo el diseño, esa escena yo creo que es de las mejores escenas que se han hecho en el cine contemporáneo, parece un videojuego. Dice que su proyecto favorito, y eso me alegra, es Ready Player One. Hizo todos los diseños, obvio, mucha gente, de la batalla final, imagínate, ¿no? Sabes que sales con Freddy Krueger ahí. Dice que incluso los personajes que salían en un segundo. Esa escena le dije que es el sueño de todo amante de la referencia. Y en 30 Days of Night, 30 días de noche, de David Slade, que para él dice que fue muy genial pasar todas estas ideas del cómic, que el cómic es muy sangriento, por cierto, hasta el final. Dice que eso mismo él sintió cuando hizo el Hall de Edward Norton. Tú sabes que es uno de los halls más aclamados, de hecho yo creo que iba a decir el mejor hall del cine. Entonces dice que para él es un honor y es un reto. Yo le dije que lo logró porque son los vampiros que más miedo me han dado.
Buenísimo. Anda, las cuestión. ¿Cómo defines su trabajo en una palabra? Y bueno, si tiene Andrés un detalle que enfatizar, acá más estoy.
No, yo estoy feliz. Ok.
John, yo me acordé de algo, creo que sí tengo una pregunta para él.
Lanza.
Dale.
Okay. So, Aaron, sorry, I just remember, and I think I have another question for you. So, you worked on The Thing, right? The Thing of 2011. That movie was a prequel. The movie actually ends with the same dog that the first movie that appears in the first movie, the one that they're trying to shoot, because it's the alien. So my question is, how do you plan? How are the steps to plan or on creating a concept art or like concepts as a whole for a movie that is very liked and it has established its place as a cult classic, because John Carpenter's The Thing, it's like one of the best horror movies of all time. So John, please tell us about it.
Yeah, well, no, that's a great question. There's The Thing is probably one of my favorite movies. And John Carpenter's genius. I mean, I love a lot of his movies back then, Escape from New York, and I think but The Thing was just one of those that was that kind of cross between the two things I love the most, which is horror and sci-fi, and he did such a great job. And the makeup artist Rob Bottin that created all the stuff from the original one. I'm talking about the one in this 80s. Was just brilliant. I mean, it was just the way he was able to, create these things that should have been CG, but it wasn't even CG at the time because it was so outrageous that this guy Rob Bottin is able to create things that and characters that are it's hard to ever replicate. I've never worked with Rob Bottin. I worked with Rick Baker and Stan Winston, which was incredible geniuses in the industry, and learned so much from them. But Rob Bottin has his own unique style, and so to create something that's so iconic that I actually love so much, the original Thing, or John Carpenter's The Thing. It's not the original. The original was black and white. I think in the 50s. But what was interesting about trying to replicate that is we knew we had the flexibility now to do CG. We didn't do any of the actual visual effects. We just helped design a lot of the creatures and setups and scenes. And I think that it's as cool as it is to be able to do that. It's also kind of like I don't think we could ever come close to what Rob Bottin did. To be quite honest, it's one of those that's like, but it was exciting because there is these elements that at the end of that story starts the one that John Carpenter created, and I think that's exciting because I rewatch John Carpenter's The Thing. I don't know how many times in my life. It's one of those things, and we had a friend that come over our house. He's a friend that hangs out a lot, and we watch movies all the time, and he had never seen The Thing, John Carpenter, so he watched that and he loved it and says, "Oh, well, we worked on the prequel," and so he saw that and it was like he actually enjoyed it. But I just thought it was fun to see that kind of connection of those two. But it's very challenging for sure to be able to create something that's so iconic.
Yeah, thanks so much for answering my question. I'm lucky I just remembered it, so I'm going to translate to them. Pues bueno. La pregunta que yo le hice es como que él también trabajó en The Thing, pero en la 2011, que es una precuela que termina directamente con como inicia la de John Carpenter, que es la película de 2011 termina que ellos están persiguiendo al perro, que es el alien, y en la de John Carpenter ellos se encuentran al perro alien y ellos ven que como que le estaban disparando y así. Entonces, pues mi pregunta era como, ¿cuál es el proceso creativo o cómo son los pasos a seguir para crear algo de una película que ya está demasiado establecida en la historia del cine de terror y efectos especiales? Entonces, pues, Aaron nos comenta que es una de sus películas favoritas, es una de las películas que más le encanta y que la ha visto muchas veces, y que él admira mucho el trabajo de Rob Bottin, que él fue una persona que en ese entonces pues no se hacía nada de efectos computarizados, se usaba muy poco, pero en esa película no se usaron, y pues que tratar de recrear el estilo de Rob Bottin fue algo bastante complicado, y que pues la verdad nadie lo va a poder recrear. Es una película que no se puede replicar. Sin embargo, a él le emocionó bastante el proyecto, pues porque es una de sus películas favoritas y mezcla las dos cosas que más le gustan, el horror y la ciencia ficción.
Buenísimo.
Entonces, pues ellos solo se encargaron de generar efectos computarizados, de crear como los escenarios y todo eso, pero que les gustó mucho el proyecto y que él tiene un amigo que va pues seguido a su casa a ver películas y que él nunca había visto The Thing y él se la mostró y le gustó y él dijo como que, sí le gustó, yo trabajé en la precuela y el amigo como que, qué chévere, that's so nice.
Es excelente. ¿Y cómo definen su trabajo en última palabra?
And like John always do, try to define your work, your career in one word.
Well, yeah, that's always challenging to, sum up everything you do in one word. But if I look at, everything from, the 80s when I started, from doing makeup effects to in the 90s, I started to learn visual effects because of Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was a gigantic inspiration for myself to learn CG, and then started my own company where I was, creating digital artwork that wasn't really being created before. It was like, a lot of times it was traditional, like drawing or painting and stuff. So I helped, evolve that in the industry, and then to where we're using as a company using all the digital tools to game engines to tell stories and to AI. That one word I would say is evolution.
Este es tu espacio, Aaron, para que digas tus redes sociales. Un saludo para Colombia. Invita a la gente a seguir todo tu trabajo, tu website. La cámara es tuya.
And as you can see, I don't need to translate because we understand the perfect word. Aaron, the camera is yours. So you can send a invite to Colombia to wherever you want, to invite your people to your website, if there is a project that we need to stay focused, go ahead. The camera is yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, guys, I just want to thank you guys for having me on this. I think it's it's a pleasure, and I feel fortunate to be able to talk about things that I am passionate about to you guys and everyone out there. And if anyone is interested in what we do as a company, you can always go to our website. It's AaronSimsCreative.com, and we'll have the link below. But we're creating all kinds of unique things right now that we're excited about, and using different tools like Unreal Engine to tell stories and series, as well as some AIs to tools to be able to tell new stories. So keep an eye on our website plus our social media, and you'll see a lot of the new stuff that we're creating that we think is kind of exciting, and we hope that it excites you guys as well. And again, I want to thank you guys for having us, and appreciate it.
Then we're going to take the final picture. You can show us any of the maquettes to the final picture. You can grab one.
Yeah, we'll send you pictures of them.
No,
Okay,
it's just that we're going to take a picture at the video call.
Oh yeah.
So you want to show them off?
I got so many. There's like, there's let's see, there's the Incredible Hulk. Let me go. Which one do you want?
Yes.
Yes, please show us. Please show us.
Oh.
The Incredible Hulk.
Ya por último.
Be careful, but this one right here. This is from
Okay.
This is from Men in Black. I worked on Men in Black. I designed
Okay.
the coffee guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a whole fun story. A whole fun story about this that I can go over at some point, because this was like this design wasn't even in the script. My design, when I designed it, the director came in and said, "I need to write something about this, in the movie." So because of the design, he actually fell in love. I mean, this is obviously they're bigger than this, but there's a little maquette.
Yeah, it's funny because that may be one of the most iconic aliens in Men in Black. It appears in all the movies, even the animated series.
Yeah,
all those guys drinking coffee. Yeah, I always remember that.
Yeah, I helped come up with that whole idea too. Like, working with Barry Sonnenfeld, the director, on that. And what is this? It's out of focus. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's a new lens. Trying a new lens here, so it's doing something funny. Don't know what's going on there. You shut that off and then. Oh well, I think we're done because now it's like the lens is all messed up.
Technology.
Oh, there it goes. I think it was just too close to it.
Yeah, fue lograrles.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of different things back here too. Like this is Trick or Treat from the movie Trick or Treat. Up here is Terminator 3, which is also here. I designed this Terminator.
Wow.
Oh my God.
The TX is the female Terminator from Terminator 3. So this was fun. I was working at Stan Winston's at the time, and I was learning, digital tools to design with, and no one was doing it at the time, and designed it using, some 3D tools that they were animating with at the time. But then eventually we were able to print this, make a 3D print. And then this came from Sideshow, which is a collectible, Sideshow Collectibles. And they I don't think they make this one particular one anymore because it's outdated. But yeah, there's so many. I could, spend like a lot of time going over each one, but that would take hours.
We need a full series of you, man. No, thank you, man.
No,
John,
man.
es que tienes que saberlo. Él, en realidad, fue una de las personas que le ocurrió. De hecho, él lo dijo. El alien ese, o sea, fue con Barry. Cuando él lo hizo, Barry dijo: necesitamos escribir una nueva escena. O sea, el alien del café no existía en Men in Black, como dice Mateo. Es el alien, creo que más icónico porque aparece en la serie animada, en los videojuegos. Y lo de Terminator, que él ayudó en esa época, no existía casi como esa cuestión de los diseños digitales. O sea, eso fue como una innovación que se hizo y se imprimió, que ya ni siquiera lo imprimen así. Eso que nos mostró, ambos diseños son exclusivos, ¿cierto, Mateo? Hey, John.
Ok, Aaron, muchísimas gracias por la oportunidad, por el espacio. Sebas, gracias también por la gestión. Y bueno, thank you so much. God bless you. Take care.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks. It's my pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Aaron.
Gracias,
See ya.
Sebas.
See ya.
Yeah.